Hello everybody and welcome to our Build Your AutoCAD IQ session. We're glad to see a few faces in the crowd who have been here before, and some of the comments we're getting are enlightening, to say the least. This webinar, Back to Basics, Working with Layers Continued. It's going to be a great webinar. It's going to be presented by Naman Maisurwala, an Autodesk Expert Elite who has joined us. If you've been here in the past, he's joined us in answering questions and also providing additional details about things, or steering us in the right direction if we're wrong. That happens often enough. Moderators today are going to be Victoria, myself, and possibly Sarah appearing later on. So she is helping a customer right now, which is what we do here primarily. So first of all, a little bit about us. As I mentioned, Naman is an Autodesk Expert Elite. He is based out of Westchester, Cincinnati, and very intelligent man who he knows his stuff about AutoCAD, and he's going to show you some very good stuff today. Victoria is our Autodesk Technical Support Specialist out of Manchester, New Hampshire, so my East Coast colleague. And yeah, she kicks butt, as you can tell from the picture, with AutoCAD. So she will be answering questions in the chat window, and I will join her as soon as the webinar gets started. Myself, Volker Coco, I'm also an Autodesk Technical Support Specialist. I'm based on the West Coast, Lake Oswego, Oregon. And Renee, there's Winter. Okay, that's the best we're going to be able to do today. I'm hearing some background noise there, so I'm not sure what's going on, but I'll excuse myself for that right now. All right, so before we get started, for those who have been here, we all know that, leave your questions in the chat window. We'll answer those as we can and review some of those after the presentation. This session, of course, will be recorded, as they all are, and the links for the recordings, as well as the slide deck download and script download, are available in a registration reminder that was sent to you previously, post-webinar survey, and in the chat window, and you should have already seen those also in the startup logo for GoToWebinar. And just to let you know, if you're new, we do have these are just some of the previous webinars that we've had in the past. Last week we had an AutoCAD specific one, which Steve and Victoria presented on 3D. And I believe we're at like webinar 45 now. It's just incredible. It's been a fun trip down this road presenting these webinars for everybody. You can find these on our YouTube channel in the Build Your AutoCAD IQ playlist of the AutoCAD Exchange. Again, you can also find them on our landing page. All right, so one more thing before we begin here, and that's we get a lot of people who will do a support request with and it's not really a problem. It's more of, hey, I'd like to see this in AutoCAD, or I'd like to see this changed in AutoCAD. Well, you can have that opportunity to influence what goes into AutoCAD, what needs to be changed. The product team is always looking for feedback, and one way to do this is to join the AutoCAD Customer Council. And this is where the developers and product team managers take a look at what feedback you have to give about Autodesk products, such as the AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT and verticals. So a very nice initiative to get even more feedback from our customers. So why participate? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Here once, not only do you get to give feedback, but you have access to early builds of the application. If you're a real geek about AutoCAD like I am, I always participated in the beta program, and here you can see what the application is going to contain before it's released to the public, and you have the opportunity to provide input for those future releases, and your feedback, as it states here, is addressed. Okay, so if you have ideas or issues with what's happening, here you can voice your opinion. So how do we do this? Well, again, I'm glad you asked. You can email autocad.beta@autodesk.com or autocad.ltcouncil@autodesk.com to get invited to participate in this customer council. Again, this slide deck is going to be available for you to download. And maybe Victoria could plop these two emails into the chat window and get those out there ahead of time. All right, we do have a knowledge network, as it's called, and this is where you can find solutions such as downloads for AutoCAD, LT, any of the verticals, free drawing viewers, as well as any of the hot fixes, service packs, and related downloads. You can find these on this AKN website. And if you haven't been there, I encourage you to go there and check it out. There's a lot of resources there. Anything from troubleshooting to getting started to installation to learning resources, so, and even more. So give it a go, check it out. I make use of it all the time, actually. Anyway, on this week's agenda, Naman will be talking about layer tools. Now, we had a webinar previously about working with layers. We'll probably have one again in the future, but these are some of the tools that a lot of people may see the icon, but they're so busy with their work, they don't really have time to check them out. Okay, cool command, I'll take a look at it a little later. Well, we're going to show them to you. Maybe if you haven't already used some of these, maybe we can influence you to be a little more productive with the use of these tools. So we're now going to go ahead and, well, we'll get to the demo in a moment, actually. I'd like to run 3 quick polls here that just for feedback so that we can find out who you are and what applications you use and so forth. So first of all, I'm interested always in seeing how many people are new to our webinars. And in this case, right under 10% it appears, or right around 10% it appears have been here before, and, or excuse me, are new to the webinar. I'm reading this backwards. And about 90%, yeah, 90% have been to previous webinars. I'm a little tongue-tied today, I guess. So that is our first poll, and I do appreciate that input and give you a chance here to take a look at it. Now we'll go ahead, and I've got 2 more polls, like I said. For, the second one is which application do you use? We've talked in the past about throwing some additional webinars out there for some of the verticals, such as you know, architecture or plant 3D or civil 3D and such. So we're getting closer to that point, but it's nice to see that most of you are using AutoCAD, 41%, about a little under 30% are using AutoCAD LT. You know, actually throw that up there for you. We hope to go ahead and get some of those other webinars on some of the other applications out there. But in the meantime, we're glad that those folks using the core AutoCAD product, including LT, are here joining us. And keep in mind, anything we do here is going to be applicable to most of the verticals. Some of the verticals have their own tools specific for a particular function, but pretty much anything we do here, you can do in the verticals. All right, one more, and we'll get on to the demo. And this is really in reference to one of the previous slides. How many, if any of you, have joined that the customer council there? 6%, 7%. Probably should have had one up here asking if you even heard of it before. I know it was presented last week in our slide deck, but hey, if you haven't done this and you're always wanting to give your input, this is your chance. You don't have to install or test the beta if you're invited to this council, but it's a great place to give that feedback. All right, so I am going to go ahead and hand this over to Naman and let him show you some stuff about the layer tools in AutoCAD.
Hello, everyone. This is Naman Maisarwala from Cincinnati, Ohio, and wanted to thank Roper and Autodesk to give me the opportunity to speak to you guys today. I was very excited to present this, and I've been very passionate about AutoCAD for the longest time. I think I got started when I was 12 years old, so been a little bit in a while since I've been using AutoCAD. I'm an architect, and I'm a BIM manager for GBB Architects in Cincinnati. And then I also teach in university as well as an Autodesk Expert Elite, as Roper mentioned. And I'm also an Autodesk Education Expert, that's my affiliation with the university. And I hang out through the community, so you can get hold of me via my name. It's naman.bimologist.maisarwala. That was a little about myself, but then I wanted to get forward and get into the real stuff, which is why we're here for the layers. And I've been very, very passionate about these layer tools when they were first introduced in Express tools. And we used to have these small Lisp routines that did those similar functionalities, but the Express tools added a notch above when it came to layer management and or manipulation. We used to be able to write those Lisp routines, but it would only work in our host file, but not through the Express or blocks. But Express tools changed that. I forget when they incorporated these into the main product, but this was incorporated in AutoCAD, so it was available to AutoCAD LT as well. All the commands I'm going to mention today are available in AutoCAD LT except one, which is going to be a bonus command at the end. Hopefully I can get to that. But before I just wanted to give you a quick heads up what this webinar was going to be about. It's basically about those neglected hidden gems that are under the layer panel. And the idea is to increase your productivity. And I don't know if you have ever ventured in those before, but this is something that I really enjoyed using. And I'll go over those as well. Now, in the previous sessions, they covered what the layers are and how to create layers and how to modify layers and layer states, and as well as layer overrides. But this time I'm going to cover all these nifty tools that are available in the product. So before I get going, the first command that I'm going to be looking at is called layer off, lay off, lay on. And I have this example loaded from basically if you go to open and it's the A01 drawing in the sample set. So I'll show you how those how the on-off commands work. This is this icon right here. So I'm going to turn off the layer. So it says layer 5 has been turned off. And if I click turn all layers on, this is a one-click thing. It just turns on all the layers that have been turned off in the drawing. So again, lay off, turn off the layers, and hit the lay on command, and all the layers get turned on again.
Excuse me, Naman?
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments that the sound isn't coming very clear. Maybe get a little closer to your mic or turn up the volume for output, if that's possible.
Yep. Is that better now?
Well, for me it's been good, so I'm hoping we'll get good feedback here in the chat window. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry about that. I hope this is better now. So the next command that I'm going to look at would be the layer freeze and layer thaw. The layer freeze is the command that I really enjoyed using because it would work through XREFs, and basically it allowed me to control which layers are on and off in the XREF. So if you notice that I have the drawing that is an XREF, so I can going to turn off or freeze the layer. So this is the command right here. The two icons says freeze. I'm going to click on the dimensions, and the dimensions get turned frozen. Turned off the column grid as well. Next, I'm going to thaw all of the layers on. So if I click this button right there, it basically thaws all the layers that were frozen. Now, I would recommend that you use this command with a little bit hesitation here, because it thaws all the layers, and you might somebody might not be happy when you thaw the layers and save the drawing. These should be a very sticky point in our office, like who thawed all the layers on. So the second example of the layer freeze and thaw would be in the viewport itself, and that's where it really shines, where it is very contextual, whereas in the other model space, it's somewhat useful. The real it shines is in the paper space, where you have multiple viewports, and I'm going to demo that to you. So I have these two different viewports. One is for level 1 and level 2. I'm going to just zoom into this area and use this lay freeze. If you notice that it shows me that I'm selecting the pink line in both the viewports. However, it only freezes that in the selected viewport. So the other option, if you look at the command line for this, and I'm a command line user just like Volker is. So if you look at the settings right here, if I type S for settings, you look at layer freeze, enter setting type for V for viewports, and it says freeze or VP freeze. So by default, it is VP freeze, and that's what I wanted. That's what allowed me to select objects in one viewport and freeze it only in that viewport. So I'm going to switch back to where I was before. And if I go to, well, I'm in my model space back again. And I wanted to show you a couple other things with that layer freeze command. I am zooming into this toilet area. And if I use this layer freeze command right here, I have options for settings right here. So if I hit settings, I'm going to click on block selection. What this allows you to do is how deep does this freeze command go. So if I click on block selection, notice that it says block, entity, and none. So by default, it's set to block. So turn off the layer of the block. So if I set to none and I click on the toilet, notice the whole XREF got turned off in the host drawing because it is the first entity that you click on will get turned off. Next, I'm going to go to block selection. I'm going to undo that. Lay freeze again. Settings, block selection, and entity. Now, if I click on this toilet, notice that in my command line it says, cannot freeze layer 0. It is the current layer. These objects, the block, inside the block, the entities were drawn on layer 0. So hence, it is drilling down through the XREF, through the block, inside the XREF, and down all the way to the entity level, and that's why it can't freeze that. However, if I go to block selection, block, now if I click on the toilet, notice just the layer of the toilet got turned off, which is the level 2. I'm going to turn off or freeze the layer for level 1. Now it is going to this block level. So it becomes a very powerful command. And then that has been my favorite command out of all the ones that I'm going to mention. The next command I'm going to talk about is the layer previous. I'm not sure if you have found it, but it is under, if you click on the chevron right here, it is this right, it says layer P, layer previous. If I click on that, what it does is it brings the last layer command, last layer state that I was working with. So it becomes a very nice feature set because I can come in and freeze different layers here. And when I'm done, I can just go back and click on layer previous and bring it back to the state that I left it at. So hopefully if you do thaw all, you combine this with layer previous. Is the voice okay, Volker, now?
Yeah, a little bit of breakup at points, but for we can understand you. So we're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next command I'm going to show, which is the layer lock and layer unlock. Notice that I'm doing these in pairs. So layer lock and layer unlock are the commands that are available. So if you want, you can lock the layers. So I'm going to just select the command, hover over the layer object, click on it, and lock it. Now once you have locked different layers, you can use unlock. Now the layer unlock is not unlock all of them. It works as you can select the object, but I don't know which one is locked or not locked. Now in the newer releases, it does give you a indication where this fading, that layer lock fading is available. So I can easily tell which layers are locked and which layers are not locked, which is also part of this dialog tab. So now I hover over this. It also shows me the lock icon. If I am hovering over a non-locked layer, it does not show that lock icon. So once I'm hovering over the lock icon, I can click and unlock those objects easily. And then if I wanted to check this, the last line, it is not locked. So that's a pretty simple command that you can use. The next command is the lay ISO and lay uniso. You may have looked at the layer states in the past. session, but this is an older command, but however, I still use it because it allows me to quickly isolate the layers that I want to work with. And the layer isolate and unisolate. So I'm typically a typer, but you can use the icons here as well. So lay ISO and lay uniso is the command. So I'm going to click on some of the layers. And then press the Enter key. And now those layers are isolated. Now when I am done, I can quickly unisolate them, and I'm back to where I was before. Now you can do that, the restore with the layer previous, but the lay ISO and uniso kind of work in tangent together and allows you to quickly isolate the layers that you want, and then basically quickly restore the status right back. The other one that I really enjoyed using was this command called layer walk. It basically allows me to see what entities are on what layer. So if you click on that chevron right here and click on this lay walk, notice by default everything is selected. I'm going to show the layers in the host drawing. If you notice, those lines turn on. However, it also works on the XREF as well. So if you notice, I select these layers, I can isolate those layers, and I can see what objects are on which layer. And once I hit close, I am back to normal. Now, it works both ways, where if I do want to keep the setting the way it is, again, I'm going to issue this command, layer walk. And within the layer walk, I am going to select a few of those layers. And instead of hitting close with this button checked on, I am going to check that button right there. It's uncheck it, restore on exit, uncheck it, and then hit close. And it gives you the warning, and click continue. And then it keeps the setting that you had in the layer walk. I'm going to go back to where I was before using the layer previous. Any questions so far, Broker?
I think we're covering most of them. We'll probably go over some of them after the presentation, just to clarify.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, doing a good job. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so the next command I am going to look at is the layer delete. So I'm going to switch to my previous view setting, which is called lay delete. And this is a really powerful command where it will delete the entities on the layers. It will drill down through the blocks and delete the objects and entities inside the blocks as well that are on those layers that you select. So I'm going to quickly demo this on this title block. I know we won't use it for that in real life, but it kind of is obvious in this demo what happens when you do select those layers. So I'm going to issue the command called laydel, or if you want, you can go to this icon based and enter that as well. So either way. Now, there are two options within this tool. If you notice, it asks you to select objects on the layer to delete. So I can select an object, and it basically turns it off. However, you can also say N for name. So if you notice that right there, there's an option available called name. Now, instead of clicking on items, I'm able to select the layers that I want to delete. Notice it only shows you the base the host drawing layers, not the XREF or anything, because it's not contextual at that far. So I'm going to hit OK, and it says you are about to delete 2 layers, and some about that it will drill down through those blocks and delete those objects. And now notice that the title block is still there. However, those 2 layers that I selected, TV1 and TV2, so the text 1 and text 3 are gone. So I'm going to undo what I just did. So now the next command I'm going to show you is the lay merge. Now that's another powerful command where it is very, very powerful. Rather than deleting some of those layers, you may want to merge them. So all those ghost layers that you have in your drawings that show up somewhere and you cannot figure out for the life of you where those layers are being used, you can merge them into another layer. Let's say you have a A-demo and A-dem and A-demo1, A-demo2, those different layers that you want to get rid of and combine them into one layer, which is a demo. In this case, I'm going to show you a different one. But so lay merge is the next command, LAY-MRG. Again, it's the same option. You can click on objects or click name. And I'm going to select, again, those 2 layers, text 1 and text 3. Notice that the text, those objects are red because the layer is red. So it says layers to merge. So I'm selecting the 2 layers that I don't want in my drawing. Now it's going to ask me, what layer do you want to put it on? And I'm going to say this, that basically select object on target layer. Instead of clicking, I'm going to again type in N for name, and I'm going to combine it all on TV text 4 and click OK. And it says that, again, they are in blocks. Doesn't matter because it's going to take care of it for me. Now notice that those 2 layers are gone in my drawing. And I only have TV text 4 available to me. So it's a very powerful command and allows you to clean up those pesky layers that you can't purge out of their drawings. So let me undo that quickly. Now, there are some other commands that are miscellaneous layer commands that I still use. Not as much, but we always had those nifty Lisp routines for those. So let me switch back to my model space, and I'm going to call all my layers, turn on all my layers so I can still see that. And the first one is, it basically sets the current layer of that of a selected object, which is called the lay mcur. So it says make current. And my current layer at this point is layer 0. So I am going to click on this magenta line. And now notice that this lay 4 is my current layer. It's that simple of a command. So you're not sure what layer the object is on, and you want to keep drawing on that on this layer, make current. It's very quick to do that. So the next command is lay cur. The first one I did was lay mcur, make current. The other one is the lay cur, L-A-Y-C-U-R. What that does is select objects to be changed to the current layer. So let's say you have a layer current, and by mistake you drew some objects on the wrong layer. You can select those objects and convert them onto the current layer. Basically, it changes the layer. Rather than trying to figure out what layer it is or what not, all you got to do is just set that lay curve and move on. So I'm going to undo that command as well. And the next command that I'm going to look at is called the match layer. So what that does, it allows you to basically changes the layer of a selected object to the match the destination layer. So if you have a few objects and you want to match it to another object layer, and you don't know which object, what layer that object is on, fear not, match layer is the command to use. Select the objects. Now it's going to ask you, select the destination layer. So again, match layer, use match layer. Hit enter. Now it's asking me for the destination layer. And now basically it takes those objects and matches it to the destination layer of the object. Pretty simple command, but can save you some time trying to figure out what layer an object is on. You just kind of match it, basically. Now, the next command is called copy to layer. This is a combination, basically, of layer match and a copy command. So I'm going to do copy to layer. That's this button under the chevron. And I'm going to select those two objects to copy, and then press the enter key. And next it is going to ask me which is the destination layer. You can pick the destination layer, just like the lay match, or you can click name as well and pick that based on that as well. So let's say I want to pick lay 1 as my destination layer. Now, once you have selected the objects you want to copy and the destination layer, now you have the opportunity to copy it. If I hit @, it will make a copy right in the same spot, or if I want, I can just use it as a copy command and give it a base point and a destination point, and basically it's a lay match plus copy command together. Now, the other command that I wanted to cover would be the bonus command that I talked about. Now, it is not available in the AutoCAD LT. However, it is available in the main or any AutoCAD verticals that you can install Express tools on. It is somewhat hidden under the blocks. So if I switch to Express tools, it says list properties. And it's well and good for the blocks, but it really, really helps me when I'm working with XREF. And I have no idea what layer an object is on unless I use the lay freeze command and click on it, and it tells me that. Or I can type in XList and then click on the object, and it tells me basically that this is on layer wall base, 1 arc plan dim. So it drilled through the XREF and then looked at what layer actually this object is on, and even it tells me the color and the line type of that object as well, and what type of object it is. So this is the command right here, list properties. So again, plan sync by layer, and it is drawn as a polyline. So it's a very powerful command that allowed me to figure out quickly what layers objects are on. And with that, I mean, that is my total length of all the nifty tools that are kind of hidden inside the layer dialog box that people sometimes don't use. However, I would invite you to explore these, and some of them are available in the main tab panel under the home layers. Some of them are hidden under the layer itself. So with that, I hope I did well. I had some vocal moments, I guess, but you guys are going to be the judge.
Nice little jab there, Naman. It's all good. It was a great, we had a lot of great questions too, and we will go ahead and cover some of those in a few moments and answer some that we didn't get to in our presentation. So can everybody see, can you guys see my slide deck here? Let's see, I may be showing the wrong screen actually. Yes, I am. Not a good one at all. All right, good. All right, so first of all, thanks for that demo. It was great. We do have in this PowerPoint slide, we always try to include some additional resources. And in this case here, basically a link to each and every one of these commands, so you don't have to just type it into your help file or anything like that. Just check it out. It does have steps as to how to work with these commands, although I think it's always better, and from the feedback, it seems most of you agree, it's nice to have a live demo of these tools. And I know a lot of people believe that they know it all, and maybe everybody did know everything about these commands, but even the tiniest things that you may not have known, one little thing, could help make your day a little more productive. So we do have some coming attractions. A couple of these actually are still, we're in the works. What should we show next? And we will have that updated by the next webinar at the latest. But hey, next week we're going to have some navigation tools and how to use some of the navigation tools in AutoCAD. That'll be a great one. That's going to be Victoria and Sarah Emsley presenting that. And 2 weeks after that, another 3D webinar. I have a couple more slides, but I do want to, before I even get into those, I do want to throw one more poll out there, and then after that I'll do the slides, finish up with the slides, and we'll do our Q&A. So the question I have for you is, did you learn anything new in this session? And looks like the majority of you did. And well, for those who didn't, you know, we really always hate wasting people's times. I hope maybe you were at least able to recall a command that you hadn't thought about in a while, and in order to, you know, a lot of times we just know so much that we actually forget some of the stuff that is available. So just briefly share that there. And as you can see, quite a few of you have learned something, so we are happy to hear that. All right, so let me finish up with the slides here so we can get to the Q&A. Just to reiterate some of the stuff I brought up at the beginning of the webinar, we do have a landing page where you can sign up for the webinars or have coworkers that you know of who might be interested in these webinars sign up. And it does list our schedule. Obviously, this one shown here in the image is a little outdated, but here you can also view the previous recordings of our webinars. We will have, we're going to answer your questions, but you can also leave the questions on this landing page, posting it on the feedback post. And obviously that's also, all these links are also in your survey and the reminders that we send about upcoming webinars. If you do leave feedback, you can do so for this webinar. Ideas for future webinars. We had a couple in the chat window. We're going to be hitting some of those topics coming up. If you want to email us, do so. Feel free to, really. But be sure, please, 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 in the subject line, put Build Your AutoCAD IQ. We have not only the Build Your AutoCAD IQ webinars, but we have them for robotics, we have them for installation and licensing, and many other webinars. So in order for this to come to us, put that in the subject line, and we'll know what team should be answering that. So Naman, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to you as a presenter real quick like here.
Okay, great.
In case we have some questions that need to be reviewed on the screen.
I saw some that says layer merge command was one of them. If you wanted me to repeat that.
Okay, well then let us see that again.
Okay, so layer merge allows me to merge multiple layers onto a single layer. It is a very powerful command and allows you to kind of get rid of those pesky layers that you see in the drawings that you can't purge them out. So the command is hidden in under this chevron, and the second last button, it says lay MRG. So lay merge, and it says select object on layer to merge. So I can select the objects using my mouse, or I can type in N for name, or I can click on this name at the bottom. I learned that from Woker the other day. And let's say I want to combine this text 1, text 3, and text 4 all in text 4 layer. So I select the two that I don't want first. So it's layers to merge. So I select 1 and 3. Now it's asking me what is the destination layer. Again, I can click N for name. And now I am going to select TB text 4 as my destination layer, or target layer, as they call it, and click OK. And it's saying that, hey, these layer text 1 and text 3 layers are embedded inside some block. I don't know what block it is in, but it is embedded in the block. And it will basically drill through those blocks and get rid of those layers and convert them to TB text 4. And I'm going to say yes. And now notice that everything turned cyan, because now those two layers are gone, and now they are merged onto text 4. So it's a very good way to get rid of those pesky layers that you never purge. Anything other questions?
I'm sorry, I just realized I was on mute. So one of the questions was, do these tools work in just AutoCAD LT or AutoCAD, especially the Express tools, do those work in AutoCAD LT? Okay,
so the Express tools by themselves do not work in AutoCAD LT. However, the 99% of the commands that I showed you, except the XList, work in AutoCAD LT because it was incorporated into the main core product. So they are available in LT as well as in AutoCAD verticals.
Great. Yeah. So a lot, over the years. So a little history here about the Express tools, and we will have a webinar on that upcoming. One of our guys really wants to present on those. Is that they were introduced back in release 14, before the turn of the century, as what were called a bonus pack. And LT had just come out around that time, but all of these tools were basically done using AutoLisp, which is not supported in AutoCAD LT. And what has happened is that some of these tools, which are so popular, they've gone ahead and recoded them, rebuilt them basically, and made them part of the core application. Not all of them, but a lot of the popular ones. So you're seeing more and more of them being incorporated into AutoCAD LT, which also means they're available in all applications. You know, we mentioned the customer council earlier prior to the presentation. If you want to see some of this stuff as being part of LT or part of the core product, you know, this is one of those reasons you'd want to join something like the Customer Council so you can give feedback like that. It's going to sound hokey, but the voice of the customer is powerful. Okay, I mean, we can give these ideas to our product team, but they're going to listen to you guys. Okay, they're going to listen to you, and they'll take our advice, but they'll listen to you more so than us. It's just a great way to get it across. I can't guarantee they're going to get everything in. They can't guarantee it, but the more requests they get, the more better. The more better the chances of it getting implemented. Let's see. When I have a question here. Can you maybe expand a little bit on freezing a viewport layer?
Oh, okay.
I know it's a little off topic, and if need be, I could do it. But we get a lot of questions about. So one of them is, you know, what exactly does it do? How does it affect my other views or model space? And if I select a thaw all, how come it, you know, it's still frozen type of thing? I know it's ad lib, Naman, but
I'll take it.
Okay, great.
Okay. So, what does, I saw a question what the off versus freeze is, so let me start with that. The off basically turns it off from the screen. The freeze basically takes it out of the memory. Basically, it doesn't get computed by any of the hatch commands, and so the freeze is the kind of more appropriate way of getting not showing a layer. So with that said, the problem happens is if you are in model space and you freeze a layer, that layer is frozen everywhere. So if let's say if I freeze these two dimensions and I go back to my paper space, if I can go back to my paper space, oh, I'm in the command, that's why. Go to paper space, notice that layer is frozen completely out of the drawing. The problem happens is, well, I do want to be able to see it in my paper space viewport and not in my other viewport. So I have two sets of dimensions. So I'm going to use my layer previous command to bring back where I was before. Now switch to my model space. And if you notice that when I look at my layers, there's this third option. It says freeze or thaw in current viewport. So what that does and allows you to do is freeze certain layers just in that viewport. So if I go to try to find the dimensions, let's see, dims, arc, plan dim, notice that it is frozen in the left viewport. I'm going to turn it on, and now notice that I have this hodgepodge mess. Well, I need to turn off that layer, which is the which is for the second floor. So I need to turn that off. So I'm going to use this lay freeze tool again, and then click on this, and now notice that all the dimensions are gone that are on the other floor. However, in my model space, those two dimension sets are still shown. and it's not completely gone from this. Now, this also works in paper space too. So let me draw a couple lines. So if I draw a few lines here, sorry, Walker, I'm just ad-libbing.
Hey, that's how I do it.
So my current layer is layer 3, so I'm going to do it in the paper space. And I'm going to draw them in my viewports. So what I can do is, if I am in this context of paper space, notice that none of the viewports are active, and I do this layer freeze. Oh, duh, it's the current layer, genius. So layer freeze.
Awkward moment.
Awkward moment right there. Right there. If you notice that, well, it froze in all of the viewports. However, the layer freeze doesn't accommodate that. But if I go in and I select this layer freeze layer in the paper space, now notice it's not visible in paper space. However, it is still visible in the 2 viewports. So I did not know that. I just ran into this a few months ago where I was like doing something. I was like, oh, you can freeze it in the paper space by itself as well.
That's a great example there, Naman.
So if you have multiple layouts, you can have something from a title block frozen in one of the layout versus the other. I don't know, one of the examples like that.
That actually an excellent example. So we have about 3 minutes left, and maybe you can briefly go over these two. One, maybe show the X list real quick again, and then we also have a question that's been asked a couple times: what the difference is between merge layer and match layer.
Oh, okay. So quickly, XList, I'm just going to type XList. Again, it is not available in LT. So then, and it is available only if you have installed ExpressTools. If you have not installed ExpressTools, it is not available in the regular AutoCAD as well. So all it does is basically it allows you to list the type of object, what layer the object is on, and the color and the line type of that object itself. So if I type in repeat XList, I click on this window marker tag. It says it's a block, wall-based window, wall-based to our plan text. It's on those layers. The last one was match layer versus layer merge. Match layer allows you to basically match a layer from one object to another. So let's say if I want to switch this object onto the layer of this first object, all I do is I click match layer, I select the objects that I want to match, hit enter, and next I'm going to select the destination layer, which is this guy, and now notice all the ones that I selected are matching the layer of the destination object. And the merge basically allows you to basically completely get rid of the layer itself and merge layers into a single layer. Does that answer the question?
That was great. Really appreciate that. Hey, we are running out of time, everybody. So we are going to have to say goodbye. It was really great having everybody here today. Naman, it was great having you do this presentation. It looks like a lot of people got a lot out of this. So thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for your time. We know it's valuable, so we do try to make it worth your while. We hope to see you next week as we navigate throughout AutoCAD with Victoria and Sarah. So everybody be safe. Take care.